It's birth story time. You are going to enjoy this episode with Dr. Uchenna Umeh. Welcome to the All About Pregnancy and Birth podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Nicole Calloway Rankins, a board-certified OBGYN physician, certified integrative health coach, and creator of the Birth Preparation Course, an online childbirth education class that will leave you feeling knowledgeable, prepared, confident, and empowered going into your birth. Quick note, this podcast is for educational purposes only, and it's not a substitute for medical advice. See the full disclaimer at ncrcoaching.com/disclaimer. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the podcast, and thank you for spending some time with me today. On this episode of the podcast, we have a birth story, and I have Dr. Uchenna Umeh, or Dr. LuLu, as her patients fondly call her. She is a Nigerian-born, board-certified pediatrician with nearly 30 years of clinical experience. She likes to call herself a Momatrician, or a grand doctor, to all of her patients who she has adopted along the way in her practice. She doesn't practice actually these days. Today, she focuses on helping teens navigate mental health issues with depression and anxiety and self-harming behavior, all to help prevent teen suicide. She especially focuses on this in the minority community. So she helps parents and their children navigate these waters of bullying and depression, again, so they don't end up as victims of suicide. Dr. LuLu lives in San Antonio, Texas, with her wife and life partner, Linda, and their 3 sons, 2 of whom are now in college, and they also have a rat terrier mix. Now, although it's been some years since Dr. LuLu gave birth, you are going to find that what she talks about is helpful and relatable. You'll see that some things about birth are really constant over time. She also has a very lovely voice and such a great energy, and you are going to enjoy hearing from her. Now, before I get into the episode, let me give a quick shout out to everyone who has joined me from hearing me on the Evidence-Based Birth podcast. I've heard from lots of folks who heard me there and have now come to check out my podcast. So thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here. Evidence-Based Birth is a great resource. It's a website that has unbiased research-based information for pregnancy and birth. It's something that I refer to very often as a great place for information for pregnant women. And the founder was kind enough to have me on her podcast. So go check out her podcast. It's called Evidence-Based Birth, guys, if you haven't heard of it before. But again, thank you to the folks who have found me through hearing me on that show. And I'm actually going to have the founder of Evidence-Based Birth, Rebecca Decker, on the podcast next week. Okay, so let's get back to this week's episode of the podcast. It's a birth story episode. You're going to enjoy it. So without further ado, let's hear from Dr. LuLu about her 3 birth stories. Hi, Uchenna. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Good morning.
Good morning to you too. And I mentioned in the introduction that you're a pediatrician, but today you're really talking about your experience, not so much as a pediatrician, but your experience as a woman who has given birth. So how about we start with you telling us a little bit about you and your family?
So I'm was married to my ex-husband for 13 years, and then we got divorced, and I'm remarried. I have a wife now,
Okay.
And we've been married for about 5 years. We're going to be 6 years this July. And we have 3 boys between the 2 parents, both my ex-husband and my wife. So the 3 boys, the oldest is 21, the middle guy is 18, and then the baby is 14. So we have that semi-blended family. Their dad lives in Maryland. He doesn't visit too often, but he's in their lives. And then, of course, my wife is the excellent aunt, the one that always lets them get away with everything. So, but it's working, and we like that.
Okay. So now, how many children have you personally given birth to?
All 3 boys are mine.
All 3 boys are yours. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Ma'am.
Okay. So why don't you tell us a little bit give us a little summary about each one of your births.
So my first son was obviously my first birth, and he came in on time. I think he was like 7 days late or something like that, but otherwise he was pretty much on time. I had no epidural for any of my children. for the first boy, I was going to get the epidural, but by the time I guess I went in labor, and then well, I thought I was in labor. It was my first labor, but I thought I was in labor, and the ladies were like, "No, you're not in labor. You got to walk around."
And that's a pretty common thing that happens. Women think for their first time that they're in labor, but they're actually not quite yet.
So I went, I walked around maybe, I don't know, a couple of hours, and then we came back and I said, okay, we'll check you and see if you've dilated a little bit. And if you haven't, then you can go home. And then I went from you're not in labor to, oh my God, you're fully dilated. What?
Oh, wow.
So there was no time to get epidural, which was the original plan was to get epidural, but then there was no time. It was like, oh my God, we got to get the doctor. I'm like, what? Yeah, I told you guys I was hurting, something like that.
Wow.
And then he came. So because I didn't get an epidural with him, I decided not to get an epidural with the other two. So that's how come I'm a natural birther. It was kind of by design, I guess. Right. It was meant to happen. Yes, ma'am.
Right, right.
And with his brother, well, he was due September 12th. I remember that because of the September 11th, but also because my sister-in-law was born on September 11th. So she kept making a big fuss. Oh, I know he's going to come on my birthday. But somewhere along the line, a friend of mine, another doctor, actually the first suicide in my life, took her life about 6 weeks before his due date. Oh. And so that threw me into labor, early labor. I didn't think it was real. I was like, no, it's too soon. It's 6 weeks.
Wow.
And then so I got ready to go to work. I was like, I'm cramping-ish, but it can't really be labor. I mean, not this early. I get to the parking lot and my water breaks. And I was in private practice. I had my own practice. My ex-husband was taking me to work that day because some days we ride together, some days we don't. But either way, my water breaks in the parking lot. I'm like, what the? Oh my God, okay, it's real labor. So he ran into the office, told the girls that I wasn't going to be able to come, and then we flew. Because of the experience with the other boy, we flew.
Right.
We lived in Lancaster, South Carolina, which is about 30 minutes away from Charlotte, North Carolina. And we had already mapped it out that I was going to have the baby in Charlotte, which is, well, Pineville, a suburb. There was a hospital there. So we flew to the hospital. Oh my God. I was like, my water broke. And this is what happened the last time as far as, the baby came within so many hours. And so we need to, be on standby. Don't you know, 23 hours later, 23 hours of labor. And then the lady was like, ma'am, you just, I said, no, I don't want the epidural. It's okay. I've already done this. She came in, she saw me. I remember I was chewing gum and watching Lifetime.
Right.
And she said, there's a sight. She said, you're chewing gum and watching Lifetime and your contractions are off the chart. I remember, she's like, are you in pain? I said, I'm in pain. I'm okay. I can take this. And then she checked and she's like, okay, you still have a thick cervix. And but the head is there. I can feel the head. Oh, he's got a head full of hair. I said, I know. I felt the heartburn. And then I was like, can I please just push? Because they were like, if you do 24 hours of labor, we're going to have to do a C-section because it's just that it's up. I said, please, I don't want to be cut. Could I please push? I was like, no, you have a thick rim. And I was like, I really want to push because I really don't want to have a C-section. Right. And so I said, okay, ma'am, can we at least try? She said, okay, well, let her get the doctor and let's try. She said, but I really don't advise it. And the doctor came and said, oh my God, doctors make the worst patients. I remember all the conversations. She's like, they make the worst patients. I said, please, I don't want to be a C-section. Okay, let's try. Since it's early, his head might be small. He might be able to make it through. And so I took 3 solid pushes and the little guy came out.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am. He came in at 6 pounds even.
Oh, okay.
He wasn't even a small baby. I mean, relatively speaking, his brother was 6'12".
Okay.
But he came in at 6 pounds even. So he wasn't really that small, but he showed that he was a preemie because he was like, I'm not gonna breathe. I was like, what? What do you mean you're not gonna breathe? Right. And then the rest is, postpartum, and the baby was okay. He's acting like a preemie. He doesn't want to eat. He shivers, the usual stuff.
Right, right.
But after 5 days, we went home with him, so it wasn't too bad. He came in early, but he turned around pretty fast.
Okay,
yes.
Okay. And I will say, just for the listeners, that is something that we used to do in obstetrics. Is after 24 hours of your water being broken, very often a C-section would happen. But that is not the way most people practice these days. So,
thank God.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, what about your third one?
My third boy was, I mean, I think when I got over the shock of having a third boy in a row, because I bought this book. Actually, I didn't buy it. My friend sent it to me from New York. It was called This Is Your Body or It's Your Body. Do you know
Right.
about that book?
I'm not familiar with that one.
Well, it's your body. It's called It's Your Body. And in the book, it tells you what to do if you want to have a girl and what to do if you want to have a boy, like what time of the month and to engage in sex and all these things and how
Right.
to put you. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna, because this was 4 years later. I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a chance and see if I can have that girl.
Right.
So I did everything the book said. And then I'm not one to have an ultrasound to check the sex. So I was like, I'm not going to check the sex. I didn't check the sex for the first two. I'm not going to check the sex.
Right.
And then
Oh, so it
my
was a
ex husband,
surprise both times.
yes, ma'am, yes.
Okay.
Well, ish, because my ex-husband wanted to know.
Gotcha.
So they told him what it was. And I could tell from his reaction because he was so excited. I'm like, oh my God, I just know he's another boy. I just know he's another boy. So I kind of put myself into postpartum depression-ish because I was like, I don't want to have another boy. I mean, I love my kids, of course, but
Right.
I wanted a girl so badly. I had quote unquote done everything I was supposed to do. And I didn't know the sex of the baby till I had him because we had picked the name, we had picked Christina, and
Right.
my ex, he just went along with it.
Right.
And I Christina, and then when the baby came out, he did a long pee, and then the doctor said, "Well, I guess it's not Christina." I was like,
Oh
"What?"
my goodness. That takes a lot for you to admit. A lot of people may not admit that you maybe were a little bit disappointed at the
Yes, I
time.
was, yes. And I did go into full-blown postpartum depression. I really did. I
Mm.
did.
Mm.
I really wanted a girl because I didn't want to have another child. I was 36 and they kept telling me, oh, advanced maternal age, and I wanted just 3 children. I had my tubes tied because that was a plan. And I was okay after a while. My mom came and talked some Nigerian sense into my head. She was like, look, you have a healthy child, and reminded me that one of my siblings, one of the twins, didn't make it. And it took a lot of my mom, though. It was my mother that she did the magic. She talked me into, listen, it's already done. It's here. Let's just.
Right. Well, I just feel like we got a lot we can talk about your 3 different birth
Yes, man.
experiences.
This one was very good.
Finding something to wear during pregnancy shouldn't feel frustrating, and with Armoire, it's actually fun. Armoire is a clothing rental membership that gives you access to high quality, beautiful pieces that fit your changing body and your style. You take a quick 5-minute style quiz, pick what you love, and fresh styles show up at your door in as little as 2 days. I recently tried Armoire, and y'all, I loved the dress they sent. It was flowy, flattering, and it had pockets. I felt so good wearing it. You know that feeling when something just fits right? That's what Armoire delivers. And for you, Armoire is the answer to feeling cute and confident in maternity clothes without spending a fortune. No more clutter, no more wasting money on clothes that won't fit in a month. Just stylish, feel-good options on your terms. Right now, my listeners can give Armoire a try and get up to 50% off their first month. That's up to $125 off. Just visit armoire.style/Dr. Nicole. That's armoire.style, ARMOIRE.style/Dr. Nicole to get up to 50% off your first month and never worry about what to wear again. Try Armoire today. So how about, well, let's kind of back it up a little bit. And how did you feel during your prenatal care? I presume, did you go see physicians for your care?
Yes, ma'am. I
Okay.
did. I did physicians all through.
Okay.
With the first child, it's exciting. It's your first baby. Yeah, I just finished residency. I still live in the DC area because I went to Howard, and then during that transition, we moved I'm sorry, he was born in Maryland. Yeah. So I still lived in the Maryland area, and I went to, I think it was Holy Cross Hospital. It was a good experience. It was just exciting. First baby. I mean, I did everything that they wanted to do, but I had that excessive salivation and I had that taste, that nasty metallic taste.
Right.
So I used to drink a lot of what my ex-husband used to call my pacifier. I had a little container with me, and to this date, I always have water with me from that baby, just to swallow that spit. So I used to drink a lot of lemonade, and I'll put a lot of sugar just to help me swallow the spit. And don't you know, my blood sugar went up and I had gestational diabetes. And the doctor was like, well, so you have gained 37 pounds. I just want you to know that only 7 of those is your baby. And I was like, oh my God, I remember that. You just remember what they tell you. Said only 7 of those is your baby.
Right.
So the more weight you gain, it's not, your baby is not going to be necessarily bigger, and you need to kind of watch it with the sugar. So I did have gestational diabetes with him. Otherwise, when we went for our Down syndrome test, I forget the name of it, they said he had trisomy 21. That was very hard,
Yeah. How did you feel in that moment?
Very hard. My ex-husband is a typical African Nigerian alpha male. Well, I'm going to have the baby. Nothing is going to happen to my son. It's my son. And well, to me, the doctor, the pediatrician, was like, oh my God, what am I going to do if my first child has Down syndrome?
Right.
So they said, well, man, but they gave me the option to have the amniocentesis. Is that what it's called now?
Amniocentesis, yeah.
So we went at, I think 20 weeks or something, and then they did it. And it was under I guess, the video, we could watch the video. But anyway, I was able to watch the whole thing as they were doing it, right? And so when they put the needle, I saw the needle come up, and then I saw the needle, I guess, poke his little knee.
Oh.
And don't you know, he had this swift response. And right there, I said, he doesn't have Down syndrome. I just said it. I was like, there's no way that kid is that, he had this abrupt, I said, he doesn't have, I said it out loud. I was like, he doesn't have Down syndrome. Right. And they're like, okay, well, we just have to wait till the results came. And then the results came out and he was fine. Okay. And don't you know, he's at Stanford. I was like, okay, he does not have Down syndrome. But that was, I think, besides the blood sugar scare, and then that little amniocentesis experience, the pregnancy was good. I craved mangoes a lot. And I ate a lot of mangoes, but other than that, I think he came in without too much drama.
Okay. And just for the listeners, just really quick, the condition she was talking about where you feel like you have excessive spit, the name is blanking me at the moment, but it's this unusual condition where some women feel like they'll often carry around a cup.
Yes. And I didn't want to spit, so I had to curb that. I just drank. I just drank. I used to drink a lot of Sprite, then the gas got too much, so I just drank the lemon. I discovered the lemonade helped me. But yeah, but I just didn't want to be that person that spat in a cup.
Right. And then, so that one went okay. And then you come to your second pregnancy. I was going to ask, one of the questions I was going to ask was, how did you prepare to give birth without an epidural? But it sounds like it just kind of happened to you.
It happened, yes, ma'am. It was not planned. I do have a relatively high pain threshold, and at the back of my mind, I was like, I don't like needles on my back, and that is the truth. I don't like needles, period.
Right.
But I didn't get a chance to process it. They told me, so, ma'am, if we give it to you now, you're just going to have epidural, and your baby's going to come out anyway, and you're just going to have like epidural for a long time. And it's not going to really help with the process. I had already kind of gone through the pain.
Gotcha.
So
yeah, and a lot of women, sometimes women have that experience with the first where they couldn't get an epidural, and the second time around, they're like, oh no, I'm going to get that epidural. But sometimes women decide, you know what, I did it the first time, maybe I can do it the next time. What was your thinking? Or did you just straight away say, I'm going to just go for it without the epidural again?
Yes, ma'am. That's what I did. I said to myself, you know what? I don't like needles anyway. That's a very, very strong stimulus right there. And then I was like, I already did it with the first. There's no way this one can be that bad. And indeed, after 23, like I said, I just psyched myself up. The woman in the next cubicle was carrying on, and it was, I laughed about it to myself. I was like, well, at least that's not me, to myself,
Right.
Like, I was in pain. I mean, but I just didn't think about it. I focused on watching TV and reading. And when the contractions will come, I would just breathe, do the stuff they tell you to
Uh-huh.
do.
Uh-huh.
But I remember she came in that she had left me that the night before or something. And then she came back for us. She says, "You're still here? 23 hours? Okay, that's it. And I was like, what? No, I don't want to do that. So,
Right. Did you
but yeah,
ever get discouraged during that time
about the epidural.
about it taking so long compared to your first one?
No, because I kept always thinking the next hour is going to be the hour, and then the
Okay.
next hour, and then we couldn't see the future, and then the next hour, and I go, oh my God, it's 20 hours, it's 22, 23. We just kept thinking the next hour, and I didn't want the same thing to happen as far as the epidural. Okay, let me get it now. But I did get in the bathtub and do a little bit of the water thing. So I remember that helped me a lot because I had wanted to have a water birth with him anyway. That was kind of a thought process for me.
Okay.
So I did stay in the bathtub a lot with him, and it helped a lot with me just not feeling it, not feeling the pain as much. The pain just wasn't, honestly, just wasn't that bad. And with his
Right.
brothers, yeah, it just wasn't that bad.
Okay. Okay. And it's interesting that you say you really focused on the moment. Like you weren't thinking about what was going to happen down the line. You kind of took it like contraction by contraction.
Yes, ma'am. That's
Yeah.
exactly what I did. And each one, I would just breathe and I would just think about it. And I remember my ex-husband, I think after like 2 or 3 asks, "Are you sure you don't want it?" I said, "No, honestly, I don't want it. I really don't want it."
Right.
And I was like, okay. And also at the back of my mind as a pediatrician, I just wanted to join this tribe of women someday who will say they didn't get an epidural. I think that was also kind of like another reason why I was like, I'm going to try to do this so I can brag about it for all it's worth down the line. Well, you know what? I had natural birth 3 times. I just wanted to be able to say that, afterwards. And
Right.
so and I use it to brag right there. I
Okay.
brag.
I will say I try to encourage women not to feel like, I mean, obviously you should certainly be proud of what you did, but if you do decide that you get an epidural, then, don't feel bad or anything like
No,
that for those of
no,
you all who are listening.
no, absolutely go for it.
Yeah.
It has its perks.
Yeah, for
It
sure.
has its perks. There's no, it's for, if you can, if you can get in on time or whatever, plan it, go for it. Absolutely. Why not?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then now with your third one, and you're thinking that you really, really, really wanted a girl. And I had a little bit of this. I have 2 girls, and both times I thought for sure they would be boys. I thought I wouldn't know what to do with girls because I'm not very girly or that kind of thing. And now, of course, I can't imagine not having
Life
my
without him.
girls. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But what was
Yes.
that like for you in that process afterwards? And when you say you have full blown postpartum depression?
I don't want to use the word rejected, but I was like, I don't really want another boy. And I don't even know why. I think because I had already set this thing for myself. I'm going to have 3 children. It's going to be 2 boys and a girl. You just say stuff and then you just kind of want to live up to them, not forgetting that it's not up to you. But I had said to myself I was going to have 3 kids. I knew I was going to have 3 kids. And then I wanted to have, when I had a second boy, I was like, okay, then I'm going to just wait a little bit. There was no formula. I just said, I'm just going to wait a little bit and then I'm going to have my girl. I just knew it. And so I put out the energy out there and I had told a couple of friends and then one of them was like, oh, you know what? There's this book. I'm like, give me the book.
Right.
But it wasn't really anything. I mean, you just want to dress up with your daughter. You want to go shopping with them. You want to, the things that moms want. And of course, dads also want with their daughters. I just wanted a daughter.
Right.
But
Right.
I've made up for that. Now I have more than 8 goddaughters. I'm good.
And it can feel frustrating because there will be times where you feel like you did everything right, you did everything like you should, and it didn't turn out the way that you wanted to.
And it's true.
Yeah.
Yes. But my mom had to, remind me that, okay, he came out, he was healthy, had
Right.
no problem whatsoever, just came out swinging, I think labor maybe 6 hours, nothing bad. I mean,
Okay.
she said he's fine. And of course I breastfed him. I mean, I loved him. I still love him, but I just,
Yeah.
at the back of my mind, I was like, I really wanted a girl. But we had to quickly change that mindset when he came out and had a long pee, like, wait, what's up? I'm here. I'm a boy. Okay, what's going on? I'm like,
Right.
what?
Now, did you ever, you said you breastfed your third one. Did you breastfeed all three of your children?
Yes, ma'am. I breastfed all three boys for 21 months each.
Oh,
The,
wow.
the total months will probably be 18 to 19, but I had enough milk to last until 21 to 22 months. I
Okay.
had a lot of milk. So with the first boy, when he came out at day 5, he developed a fever. So we had to go back to the hospital and he had to have a spinal tap because he had a high fever at 5 days of age. And then that kind of interrupted the process a little bit. And even though I hadn't made any kind of like announcement to the nursing staff, I had just kind of said I'm breastfeeding. I had said that, but I hadn't like said any absolutely no bottle kind of thing. Again, this was 21 years ago.
Right.
And they gave him the bottle. They gave him the bottle because my milk had him come in fully and all of that good stuff. And don't you know, this little guy got nipple confused. So
Mm.
I had to pump. I had to pump for 18 months.
Wow.
It was not funny. So when his brother came, there was a big sign there saying, do not, no pacifier, nothing.
Right.
Because yeah, my and then I got engorged with him also. And then he was kind of a weird eater. He's one of those babies that, and I don't know why he did that, but when he's eating, if you make a sound, he will stop, and that's it. And this is my first child. Like, what is going on with this
Right.
kid?
Right.
He would stop, and that's it. And so I got engorged a lot with him. And one time I was, like I said, I think, you know what? I think that baby came soon after residency or something. I can't remember, but I had to go into the nursery at Howard. Actually, I was a DC General. I went in to see Dr. Young, our neonatologist, who trained me because I was just having so much pain. I was so engorged. And because I was engorged, he couldn't latch on because, and then of course he already didn't want to latch on because of the nipple confusion. But even
Right.
all my tries, so I went in to see her and she was like, oh my goodness. She put in the industrial pump for me, and we
Mm-hmm.
got 8 ounces out of each breast. I'll
Wow.
never forget the relief I felt because I had a fever. I was just shaking with I remember that. She was like, she said, this is liquid gold. She said, we give us some for our preemies. I remember she said that in the NICU then. She was like, oh my goodness, this is so much milk. I was like, yeah, I'm so relieved. It was, I still feel it. I still feel it so much.
So when you look back on your three, which sound like pretty different experiences giving birth, what are your biggest takeaways? What are your memories, you think about your births?
I thank God, and I think I say this all the time to my patients. I thank God for everything from pregnancy to birth. I used to work out a lot. So I think that might have also helped with just the tolerance level.
For sure.
I
Yeah.
exercised, probably did 4 miles up until each son was born, like the day before
Mm.
son was born. I love to dress up. I would wear heels and boots and just fancy clothes. And I just wanted to enjoy my pregnancy and just be that, and then I think with the last boy, because I knew it was the last pregnancy, we did this the portraits, the
Okay.
pictures. We went and took the pregnancy pictures, and then if you do the pregnancy pictures, you get the baby pictures for free or something like that. I just enjoyed. I wanted that, and so even to this day, I have the picture just framed of I think about like maybe 6 months or something. Just I needed to feel beautiful during my pregnancies, and so I did that. And so for me, I think it's hard enough. It's confusing. Your body is going through changes, but for me, I just said I was going to have as sexy, as beautiful a pregnancy as I can, so I can tell my patients. So now I use each pregnancy and each delivery to counsel my moms that come in and are having, like, if you have gestational, I say, oh, I had that. If you have a
Right.
preemie, oh, I had that. If you have a blocked duct, oh, I had that. If you have,
Right.
nipple confusion, I had that. If you had, difficult transition, I had that. So I'm so thankful for everything that I went through with each pregnancy, except maybe the third one, because I was advanced maternal age. At one point, I kind of lost it with my OBGYN because she kept saying, at your age, I said, ma'am, you know what? I'm only 36. I'm not the oldest woman having a baby. We
I
just
know
had a
that's right.
64-year-old have a baby the other day, a 62-year-old have a, come on now, give me a break. I said, if you say that one more time, I'm going to change doctors. And I told her that.
Oh.
I'm going to change doctors. I'm not the only. She always said, oh, at your age, we're going to have to do the 3D. And at your age, you have to. I'm like, how old am I? I'm
Right,
36.
right. And you said you were pretty healthy and active.
I was very active, but she just always said at your age. She always said at your age, at your age. I was like, wait, how old am I really? I'm just 36.
Right.
So I think each pregnancy, honestly, each one was put there. Even the boys today, each son has had different health challenges or not, but each one I've been able to bring back to my practice. And I just thank God for that.
Yeah.
So as a doctor, I think that's what I take away from each pregnancy was a learning curve for me to help me later on with identifying and having the empathy that I needed and, for my patients at that point in time.
I have that same experience too.
Oh, fantastic. Yes, whichever trouble that I went through with, especially the preemie, that was challenging because he was early and he didn't want to eat. Like I said, he didn't want to breathe. I've been there. So when I sit down and counsel that mom who comes for her prenatal one visit with the doctor, I am just like pouring out everything from experience.
Right.
And so I love that. It helps me connect so much better with my moms.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, were there any resources that you found helpful during your pregnancy or that you tell when you see expectant moms, any resources that you want to share that are helpful?
Well, I have one that you don't want. The book that's called It's Your Body. You don't want. It's not going to do it. That's for sure. But other than that, no, I think that's the usual what you expect when you're expecting. I had that, I got that, and I read it. And then there was one about moms and breast milk and medicine or something, medications and breast milk. That was another one. Those two books I have in my little, even today. I think it was medications and mother's milk or medications and breast milk, something like that. But they have the old editions of them, those two. Otherwise, and now that, with Facebook and all kinds of online virtual groups everywhere, this is probably one way to go. Find a group online, find a mom's group, find a lactation group, find whatever you want to do and, be vocal and learn as much as you can, for all it's worth.
Right.
But I don't have anything special, nothing to go to. I just have fun with it. I did my best to have fun. I took a lot of sexy pictures. I just like things like that because I wanted to take that myth from all pregnancy is drab, you're tired all the time, your back is hurting. I wanted the opposite. I did not want that to be my narrative in my pregnancies. And so I made sure that I exercised. I made sure that I try to eat right. I try to drink right. I don't drink alcohol anyway to begin with, but I try my best to do everything as right as I could, but also have fun with it.
Right.
And as a woman, I put makeup and I tried not to feed that narrative of pregnancy is, you're tired all the time kind of thing. I just didn't want that in my narrative.
Right. Yeah. So and you may have just answered this question, but I ask all the women who talk about their birth stories, or what is one thing that you would tell other women as they get ready for their birth?
Have fun with it.
Yeah.
Just have fun with it. I mean, it's going to be 40 weeks, whether you like it or not. So just enjoy your 40 weeks. And I tell people, I said, actually, technically it's 10 months, not 9 months.
Yeah.
Because 40 weeks is 10 months. So have a blast. Take pictures. I love to take pictures. I'm also an amateur photographer. So I love to take photographs, but also I did my best to take pictures. And then I had the older siblings were part of the process. I got books and I read to them and I let them be part of the laboring process and just, they were always around, maybe not during the actual birth itself, but they were always in the room, in the space. They went through that for all it's worth. So they can see, you don't just go to the hospital and then come back, you have a baby. I just wanted them to be part of it. Again, that was a personal thing. We also didn't have any babysitters, just me and my ex-husband. So we made it work. But I didn't want that case of, can you watch my kids? Let me go have a baby. I wanted them to be part of the actual having the baby. So I was able to pull that off.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the listeners are going to learn so much from you sharing your stories today. So I really, really appreciate you coming on to the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And thank you for what you do. As a pediatrician, I definitely appreciate this. And I'm so excited. Like I told you, I'm going to tell anybody that I know who's pregnant. I didn't know that they have a podcast about it. I was very happy when I saw that you're doing this. I definitely like that.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I really appreciate the support. So where can women connect with you if they're interested in, you said you're a pediatrician and I know you do some other things. Where can women connect with you?
So on Facebook as myself, Uchenna Umeh. Otherwise, I do have a Facebook group called Teen Alive only because I'm now more like an activist, I guess, for, against teen depression and teen suicide. So there's that's called Teen Alive, TEEN. Is it TEEN Alive? And then I also have an Ask Dr. LuLu page, which because I do a Facebook Live every Sunday and we talk about just hot topics that affect teens, whether it be drugs or alcohol or dating, date rape, or, suicide, depression, bullying, things like that. I talk about those topics every Sunday. So Ask Dr. LuLu or my first name, Uchenna, last name Umeh, or my Teen Alive group. If they have children, if they want to learn how to raise teens, if they already have teens, if they have questions about teens, they have ideas about how they kind of raise their teens, we're always welcoming, good new information and people that want to just hang out with us.
Yeah, perfect. And I will put all of that for the listeners. I'll put all that information in the show notes with all the links and everything so you can click to things and get to her very easily. Well, thank you again so much for being here. I really appreciate your time. And I know the listeners, like I said, are going to learn a ton because you just provided such a wealth of varying experiences here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. All right. Take care. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye.
All right. So wasn't that fun? Didn't you enjoy that? And doesn't she really truly have a great voice? It's like very soothing for some reason. All right. So after each episode, I give something called Nicole's Notes. It's my top 3 or 4 takeaways from the episode. So let's get into what my top 3 or 4 takeaways were for this episode. Oh, you know what? Before I do that, the medical term for what we were talking about, the excessive spinning the saliva, is called tyolism. It's not harmful. We're not sure of the cause of it. It's just kind of a weird thing during pregnancy that we think may be related to the hormones. Okay, so here's Nicole's notes. Number 1, in her first birth, she talked about making it to being completely dilated and doing it without an epidural, even though she wasn't planning on doing that. Now, that doesn't necessarily happen commonly, but it does happen enough. It's something that I see with a fair frequency. And it may sound like, oh, that would be great if I could just make it to being completely dilated. And yes, it is. But for some women, it's actually a bit overwhelming because it's not what they were expecting. They were planning to get an epidural and it's like, whoa, do I have time? I can say that if you happen to fall into that category of women who progress through labor fairly quickly and manage things okay, and you get to 9 centimeters or completely dilated and you did it without an epidural, even if you were planning to get an epidural, you can probably make it through the finish line and deliver without an epidural with some good support from your nurse and a partner. Getting an epidural that late, it very often doesn't set in, so you're not really going to get the benefits anyway. So if you happen to be in that category and you make it to that point and you show up at the hospital or you get to completely dilated quickly without an epidural, consider just going through and delivering without it. I think you can do it. All right, number 2. She went through a quick labor the first time, but the second one was 23 hours of labor. That's just a testament to the fact that every pregnancy and every labor is different. So you can learn from the experiences of your own prior pregnancy or other women's pregnancies, but every pregnancy is different and you can't predict how things are going to go. So be open to whatever happens during your pregnancy. The other thing about that second baby is she took that long labor one contraction at a time. She wasn't thinking about what's going to happen an hour down the line or that it's been 10 hours or 12 hours. She was kind of like, okay, let me get through this contraction and then the next contraction. And that is the way that you really need to approach it if you're planning to give birth without medication. Just take it contraction by contraction, one contraction at a time. Number 3, she was upset that third baby was a boy. She really was. And that happens sometimes, that you may have things during your pregnancy that you're disappointed about, including the sex of your baby. But she was also able to find a way to get past it. It took some time, and it may take some time. She had her mother to help her, but she got past it and still obviously very much so loves her child. So it's okay if you're disappointed, but you got to get past it and figure out a way to deal with it so that you can focus on being a mother to that child. And it may be from a friend or a family member, or even help from a mental health professional that you have to do that. And then the last thing, she talked a lot about feeling beautiful during her pregnancy. And I loved how she said she took control of the narrative of her pregnancy. And I hope you do the same thing. Take control of your personal narrative for your pregnancy. It's your own experience, and it can go however you choose. No, you don't necessarily have control over everything, but take control over the things that you can take control of, and create your own narrative and your own experience as much as you can within your power. For her, that was really feeling beautiful during her pregnancy, dressing up, taking pictures, that kind of thing. So think about what you want to do for your pregnancy and take control of your own personal narrative. Okay, so that's it for this episode. Let me know what you think in the podcast community Facebook group. If you're not a member, it's called All About Pregnancy and Birth Podcast Community. Just search for that. And I would love to have you as a part of the group and hear your thoughts about the show. Now be sure to subscribe to the podcast in iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And if you feel so inclined, I'd really appreciate you leaving an honest review in iTunes. It helps other women find my show, and I may give you a shout out on a future episode. Now, next week on the podcast, as I mentioned, we'll have the founder of Evidence-Based Birth. Her name is Rebecca Decker. She is a nurse with a PhD, and she has some great information. She does lots of awesome work to help pregnant women and families and childbirth educators and all kinds of stuff to help women with pregnancy and birth. So I'm super excited about having her on the podcast. So come on back next week. And until then, I wish you a healthy and happy pregnancy and birth. Today's episode is brought to you by Women's Wellness Coaching by Dr. Nicole Calloway Rankins. Head to ncrcoaching.com to check out my free 1-hour mini course on how to make your birth plan, as well as my comprehensive online childbirth education class, the Birth Preparation Course. With over 8 hours of content and a private course community, the Birth Preparation Course will leave you knowledgeable, prepared, confident, and empowered going into your birth. Head to ncrcoaching.com to learn more.